Hey guys, welcome back to Email Basics Part 2. And in today's video, I wanted to just kind of stay right here in this beginning portion of the process because it can get pretty complicated. And maybe next time we'll come to this end and look at like transport rules and things like that. But for now, let's go back to our original. We have Bob at Gmail. This is Bob. He's on his client and he's using he's using Gmail, for example. And I know Gmail has its own rules and stuff like that, but we're just generically talking about email in general, okay? So when he is on his Gmail client and he types his email and he hits send, what's happening is the email is being created in what is called an MUA, right, or a mail user agent. And that is basically taking that information, the email, and it's sending it off over SMTP and hitting the Gmail web server, right? Or excuse me, not web server, but mail server. At that point, this MUA that it's carrying the email is going to hand off the information to the MTA, okay, mail transfer agent, or MDA, mail delivery agent, but I think they're pretty similar. Either way, the MTA accepts that email from the MUA and then routes it to local mailboxes if it's something local. So if Bob were sending his email at Gmail to another at Gmail, then if this was a Gmail mail server, it would just go this way, go to it, no problem. Okay, but we're discussing here the process of going from Gmail to say like Outlook, to Carl at Outlook, which is way over here. Okay, so the MUA is the mail user agent, basically like your Outlook or something like that. It takes the information from the email, you hit send, and it goes across the internet through SMTP protocol that we talked about last time, and it hands off to the MTA, which then routes the email, and now we're in the mail server. Okay, so email, MUA hands off to MTA. MTA now is going towards the mail server. Now, once it gets into our mail server here, the email is basically like in a queue, right? It's waiting to go. If there's a lot of messages in the queue, it could take a little while to process. I don't know if you've ever like had someone send you an email and go, "Oh, it's not here yet," and you keep hitting the refresh button, and finally, that's probably the reason that's happening is there's probably a lot. Well, there could be a lot of reasons, but one reason is the email queue from the sending server, right? So like this mail server right here, it could be backed up. It could be a lot of mail just waiting in line. It's still relatively quick, right? Like it's so you have to wait 30 seconds or a minute. When you think about how this travels, it's still pretty quick. But that's the reason why a lot of that happens. It's just waiting in that queue. Okay, now the MTA, you begin this MTA to MTA transfer, right? This mail transfer agent. And they're going to hand off your mail and go across the internet, right? But what happens is this MTA is handling all the aspects of your delivery. And one of the things that it does is it looks for this IP address, right? Like this Outlook.com. It's wondering where it is. Because if you remember, we talked about where if it were an internal Gmail account, it would hit the server and then boom, go this way, go there. But now it's like, well, where is this Outlook.com domain, right? So the MTAs are starting to search for it. They hit the internet and they go to the domain naming system, which is just a bunch of servers scattered all around the internet, right? But what happens is this MTA with all this information looking for Outlook.com, and what did I do here? Let me get rid of this. Is looking for Outlook.com to get over here for this mail server. And what happens is, as we discussed before, through the domain naming system, DNS offers up what's called the MX record, right? Which has an IP and server information. It has the information for Outlook.com. It's going to help this MTA get over there. Okay, so honestly, too, like the MX record is basically an MTA as well because it's transferring information. It's an agent transferring information. IP server information over to this server, right? And once this MTA here makes contact with this MX record, then it finds the priority of the IP, like which IP to hit first, and then it starts to go. It basically gets the information, like the Outlook.com, and it now knows where to go, and it can finish its travels through Simple Mail Transfer Protocol and it's going to bounce around in the internet, and the internet's just a bunch of servers scattered around everywhere, right? And it just keeps going, and then it hits the mail server. So next time, the next video will be this piece of it. So all I want to do right now is just cover the beginning. Sender on gmail.com types the email, hits send. The MUA brings or transfers that information to the MTA, mail transfer agent, which then hits the mail server here, the SMTP/mail server. If it's an internal mail, it will send it that way back to the person. But if it's external, it needs to start looking for this Outlook.com. The MTAs then start doing a handoff to other MTAs, and the MTA looks on the domain naming system and finds the MX record for Outlook.com, and then can begin its travel back through the internet and hit this. So I hope that's helpful for the first half of email travel. Next time we get together, we'll go ahead and take a look at the second half of email travel, talk about how their recipient mail server gets that information and goes through different, I guess, like transfer rules, right? And then finally IMAP and pop through, bringing it to the application layer to this end user. This is a person right here using a computer, and they can see the email. So hope that helps. Any questions, ask away.